Hey everybody, welcome to another Tarvent webinar where we go over company updates, talk about our latest blog, answer questions, and kind of keep you guys in the know about what we're doing at Tarvent. Today I've got myself, I'm Jason, CEO and founder of Tarvent, and Derek, who is jack of many, many trades, and also one of the founders of Tarvent. So how are you today?
Doing pretty well. A little bit tired today.
Yeah,
My
I'm kind of
face
looking at how I look.
definitely.
I look tired for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah,
It's the joys of running a software company. It's
yeah,
lots of long nights and short sleeps. So
yeah. Sleep is overrated. So kind of how it goes. But that's what we signed up for, and I don't know why we signed up for that, but we did. So super fun though. Got a lot of cool stuff going on. So I guess let's just kind of jump into it and see if we can cut down time on this. I know folks want to get the information, but they don't want to sit on forever and a day waiting for it. So first thing to announce is we finally released RSS campaigns and bulk delete. So those features we've been talking about for a little bit, but had some holdups, not just because of that functionality, but just because we have so many other things at the same time going on. But anyway, so we've released RSS campaigns again and the bulk delete. So now you can delete as many contacts as you need to delete at one time. Request may take a little bit to do, so while it processes, but yeah, so we got those released. The next one we got released, this is a bigger one for us, is the inbound webhooks. So now with the inbound webhooks, instead of using Zapier or Make or another third-party integrator, you're going to be able to just use like Gravity Forms or WP Forms or Contact 7 or any other plugin for WordPress or any other sort of website creation tool that you're using. So you can use these inbound webhooks on our side to push that form data to us. So you can do that natively instead of having to go through one of these integrators. So it saves you money, makes the process a lot faster. And we're going to go over that in the Q&A a little bit to kind of go over some of the stuff that we've got because we've had some questions come up, which are great questions that we want to make sure we address. So
yeah, and just one thing to add, what's cool about that release is we already have several customers using it. So
true.
we released it I believe it was last Friday. So it hasn't even been a week yet, but we're just excited to see that you guys are using the new features. It makes it worth our while to see that we're providing tools that makes your guys' lives easier. So I just
Tell
thought
me
that
about.
was something super cool.
Yeah, it's nice when people ask for a feature, we publish it, and then they actually use it. As opposed to people asking for features, we add them in, and then nobody uses it. I mean, they get used eventually, but yeah, it's nice to see that right away. We had adoption like the first day, and seeing people who's starting to use that. So that was pretty cool. Um,
Yeah.
Next one, I'm gonna let you go over.
Yeah. So going with active pieces. So we're close. So we're testing the final pieces of this. So no pun intended there. But anyway, so we're testing the final parts of this. We got a lot of the actions done and just working through some of the triggers. But that should be released this week. So I say this week because we don't know. The only unknown we have is about the deployment process of active pieces. So we know from our side if the code's done or not, but once we're done and we hand it off to active pieces, we're not really sure how fast or slow that approval process goes, but we'll go as fast as they let us. So we're hoping all the coding and all the stuff on our side is wrapped up today or tomorrow. So then all that will be left is just pushing it so you guys can start using it. So we're really hoping for tomorrow, but I just say this week on the more cautious side because I'm not completely sure how fast that approval process will go. But it's
Yeah,
close. So
yeah. Some of the
it'll be
integrators
super
take a
nice.
little bit, so
Yeah,
hopefully
definitely.
active pieces just because of how they're built. I'm assuming it's going to be a fairly quick one.
Yeah, it is
But
open source. So
yeah,
I'm hoping with open source, usually when it's open source, things tend to go faster. But like you get Zapier or Make, they have a whole checklist of things, and it even comes down to the punctuation of the action names that you use in their integration. So if you don't have the correct punctuation, then you can't publish. So some of them are super strict, but I'm hoping since ActivePiece is open source, it'll be smoother. We'll be able to get that to you guys as soon as possible.
Yeah. Yeah. The last one we're working on is CRM integration. So so we did the webhook that allowed people to kind of, in a little more generic way, allows you to integrate with a number of different things. And even with that webhook, I mean, if you don't want to use our API, but you want to use our webhook, you could just write code on your side for that. But anyway, so there's the webhook integration, and that's really just to create and update contacts. But now we're going to be working with some CRM integration to release that here soon, and that's going to do a lot more. So there's going to be some native things built in, obviously, to move contact data over, and then also within our journey system, you're going to start seeing some additional journey functionality that is not proprietary, but that's native to that integration. So, yeah. So, and I'm just going to come out and disclose the first one we're going to be working with. So we've kind of got a tactic. We won't go into too much detail on our tactic as far as all the different integrations we're going to be doing. But the first integration we're working on, it's with a company, and we kind of picked it because several different reasons, but the initial reason was just because of the name. So it's called Less Annoying CRM. So, and it's a less annoying CRM. So it's a CRM tool that you can get in. It's not super complex, but it allows you to do a lot of things within it. You just don't have to have a PhD in CRM for some of these tools out there, some of these larger CRM platforms that are there. So we wanted to walk before we run. And so we're getting our first CRM with a little bit smaller CRM that is still extremely popular and has been doing rather well. So we're integrating with them first. And then once we integrate with them, then we're going to bring on some of the more popular CRM platforms as well. But we like integrating with small companies and the big guys. We understand that the small ones don't have near as many customers, but you know what? We're all about supporting small business. So we want to support these other small businesses that are out there as well. So Less Annoying CRM is going to be the first one. So please check them out. Look at what they've got. Might be a better platform for you, especially when it comes to cost. So it might be a better platform for you to use for CRM. And then that's going to be our first integration. And it'll be a two-way integration. So we're going to be able to sync data to LA CRM and back into Tarvent. So cat's out of the bag. So, at least you know what we're doing next. And so you guys can kind of take a look. I know.
Yeah. And just on that, I know we say this every week, but if you guys have any CRM platforms that you'd like us to integrate with, definitely let us know, because we'll take that into consideration when planning out the future ones. And also, if you use a CRM and there's an integration you wish you had, just with journeys or some sort of journey action that you wish Tarvent could update a certain thing in your CRM, let us know too. So we have our ideas of what journey actions you're going to want and journey triggers, but it'd be a lot better coming from you guys, because then we know that we're doing what you guys need instead of what we think you guys need. So please let us know.
Yeah, I mean, you guys can dictate what the next CRM is that we integrate with. So we would love that. But, we have our ideas, but our ideas can change. So not too big a problem there. Anyway, so that's kind of the company update for now as far as what we've got going. We did some other pushes to production. So hopefully you guys will notice some performance improvements along the way. So we're continuing to make performance better and better and better. That it's kind of a win-win for us. I mean, performance is better. It's better for you guys because things react faster. It's also better for us because if it performs well, that means at least how we code things, it means that we're using less resources. It's less cost, which means we get to keep our costs low. We're not ones that believe in throwing hardware and just throwing resources at it to make things run faster. We just believe in better code and better logic behind the scenes to make sure that it runs fast. So that's what we're doing. So it's been a huge success so far, and we're just continuing to grow. That's just kind of how it goes. As we grow, the more accounts we get, you have to do things a little bit different. So, it's just part of the growth process. But anyway, let's get into the blog. So our blog,
Yeah.
Marketing automation versus email blast. What's the real difference? So
Yeah. So I guess I can start with
go
this
for it.
one. Yeah. So, I mean, this is we've had a trend the past 3 weeks on our blog posts. It's all about automation. So this one kind of just expands on why, again, you'd use automation versus an email blast and kind of what's the difference. So we've gone over this in the past, but an email blast is kind of good when you want everyone to know the same information at the same time. So like, let's say you have a sale going on, or there's an event happening, something where the information is the same for everybody. So that's kind of when you'd send an email blast, where an automation is it's a more personal experience. So once a contact fills out a form, then you're going to put them into this welcome sequence where you're going to send them an email based on their form responses. So let's say they're interested in skiing, you'll start sending them emails about skiing. So that's kind of a very generalized difference of a blast versus an automation. Blast is kind of same message for everyone. Automation could be the same message for everyone, but it's more built to have a personalized message based on a contact behavior. So,
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, the contact blast, or I'm sorry, not a contact blast, but a campaign or an email blast. The words in my head made sense, just they didn't connect with my mouth very well. But anyway, so yeah, those contact blasts, gosh, I did it again. I don't know what my deal is today, but whatever. So yeah, those blasts are great. I mean, they are good, especially if you've got a sale and you're going to send it out to everybody. Then that kind of makes sense. But if it's not a sale, and even when you're doing a sale, please use segmentation at least, so you're not sending out to your entire audience, because I'm guessing your entire audience isn't interested in the same sale. But with that, I mean, the cool thing is that is a quick and easy way. But when it comes to day-to-day things, automations are just so much better because it's real time. It reacts to what they're doing. I'm actually going to share my screen here just to kind of show an automation so we can kind of see what these look like in Tarvent. That way, when we're talking about it, you can at least see a automation that we've got set up. And this is just a welcome. So when a new contact gets added, either through the webhooks that we just released, or you use our forms, and you have a form embedded on your website and they submit it, any number of different ways, or you could be using an integrator like Zapier and you add in a contact. So any of the different ways that you add contacts into our system, this would then, based on this entry trigger, this would pick up that contact, send them an email, wait a week, look at their engagement. Based on their engagement, then we can send different emails to them. So really, really simple, a simple workflow or automation, or in our case, we call them journeys. So it's just a really simple one, but that's the kind of thing that you can set up. And that's why automation is more personalized. It happens right when the contact gets added. So, they submit a form and you start them on that journey. But
Yeah, and I just think from a personal side, I mean, anytime I sign up for something, the experience is a whole lot better if I receive an email like moments after signing up, versus if I were to send an email blast, they'd probably send one once a week to every new customer. So then if you signed up on Monday and they send it on Friday, you're not getting a welcome email until Friday. So this is where, for signups and new contacts, this is where automations or journey is just a lot better, because it's right after that behavior happens, it sends them that email.
Yeah.
So,
You can kind of think of it as a regular campaign. It's just like, you've got a speakerphone and you're yelling through that, trying to talk to everybody at once. where automation is very smart. It goes to that specific person at the perfect time every time. Doesn't matter what time of day. Doesn't matter if you are in the middle of work or if you're out to dinner or doing whatever. The system just runs on its own and it does everything for you. So it works really smart.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, and another difference between the two is scalability. So when you send out an email blast, it's a manual process. So every time you want to send an email blast or campaign in Tarvent terms, you have to go in, edit your email, schedule it, or select the recipients, then schedule it. And it's a manual process that you have to do every time you want to send something out. Where automations, you set it up once, you set its trigger, and then it will run. So whether you have one new contact or you have 1,000 new contacts, it's the same amount of work. Because you set it up, all those contacts will go through the automation and no additional work is needed. So when it comes to scaling your flows and scaling your marketing flow, automations save you a ton of time. It's just a whole lot easier and you don't have to worry about it, even if you grow an insane amount. So
Yeah. And hopefully when you guys see how automations work in Tarvent, you'll realize that these are accessible for everybody. You don't have to be an expert. You don't have to have a computer science degree to know how to set these up. I mean, hopefully this looks really friendly. I can go in and I can add in something based on, contact added, or maybe I want to do it on a form event. I'm going to just pick a form here. So I've got these different forms. So if I do a subscribe and I say, okay, when they submit this form, I want to join that or add them to this journey. There's some other criteria we won't really go over, but this just kind of shows how I can add these different triggers in, and then it goes into sending an email. So got to send email. I can go in, edit that email. I'm just going to click standard for right now on this one. This one is a brand new journey. So we'll just go with something really simple just to kind of get into it. But the cool thing is that as you do this, you modify your journey or your email. From here, we have this cool little feature. So you have this quick nav that just lets you navigate to all the other emails within your journey. So you don't have to go back to the journey every time. So I can just click save here and go back. This is just a demo one, but this will allow you to kind of go through. You can edit your different information for each of the nodes over on the right. And then your engagement. So you can set up your engagement and what that means for that particular engagement. So in this case, we're looking to see if they opened it. And then if they opened it, great. Then they go down into this particular email. Otherwise, we're going to send them a reminder. So these are all really, really simple things to do. They're not scary. You can make changes. So once everything is set up, and you'll see these little wrenches. So these little wrenches mean that these need to be configured before you can run the journey. So you need to make sure that all the wrenches are gone. But once these are gone, then the run will be enabled and you can run it. And then once you run it, you can make changes whenever you need to make changes. So you don't have to worry about once you run it. I know there's some other automation systems, won't name names, but one of the bigger guys for this, you can't modify a journey once it's running. You can create a copy of it and you can start all new people down the new version of the journey, but you can't make changes. A lot of the other systems do allow that. So in our system, kind of the same way. So you can make changes. So let's say, you don't want to wait a week. You want to wait 3 days. Well, I can just go in here and make a change to say, I want to wait instead of 1 week, I'm going to change this over to days and I want to wait 3 days. So really simple. I save that and then all that gets updated in the system so they don't have to wait for that period of time. So that's kind of how that works. So hopefully you guys think it's not too scary. It's really simple. Probably the biggest thing that we've seen is at the end, we have complete journey. So there is an action in here. I just want to bring this up because some people kind of get confused and think they need to do that. You don't need to have exit a journey down at the bottom. As soon as they complete it, they're done. So, it's pretty straightforward on how that works. So you don't need to add that in at the bottom. We have that for you. So, anyway, that's kind of how that works. But yeah, hopefully with that, whoops, I picked the wrong one here, but we'll just go back to us here. So anyway, so yeah, hopefully people don't think journeys are too scary. They're pretty easy to set up. And once they're done, they're done. And sky's the limit as far as what you can do with them. I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't go over everything in it, obviously, but there's a lot of triggers, and we have entry and exit and so on and so forth. So
Yeah. Yeah. So if you guys are overwhelmed by doing a journey or a little intimidated, just try it out. It's
yeah,
not as it's easier than you think. You just add a trigger, add an action, and you set up your first automation, and then you can just
yep.
keep expanding it from there. But yeah, it's such a beneficial tool that if you're not using it, you're missing out. So we just really want you guys to start using automations because it'll make your marketing flows that much better and just so much more scalable. So
Yeah, we have journeys from that have 2 steps in it all the way up to, I think we've seen journeys in our system that have 50, 60 different steps. So
yeah,
walk before you run, just get into it and get familiar with it, and then just keep expanding as you learn more about how the system works, and you more importantly get comfortable with the results that you're seeing. So
yeah,
anyway, not to beat this into the ground, but definitely want to promote using automations, whether you're using Tarvent or another system out there. You should not be using that other system. Ours is the only system you should use, but I'm kidding.
yeah,
But, hopefully it is, but either way, use automations. It's just easy, and it makes your life so much easier. So with that, just want to jump into to webhooks because like I said, we just released the webhooks. There's been some questions that have come up. Wanted to kind of show you guys what the webhook stuff looks like. So it looks like Derek is ready here with that. So I'll add Derek's screen in here, and he can kind of walk
yeah,
you through how a webhook is set up.
yeah. Yeah, so I'll just show you guys in one of our Breckworks, by the way, if you guys didn't know, was just one of our test companies that we set up, but it was originally going to be a woodworking company, but just some interesting information. But yeah, that's why we always use this Breckworks account for our testing, just for our test account. But yeah, so I'll go into the vendor's audience. So yeah, to set up your webhook, it's per audience. So I just want to preface that just so you guys understand why I'm going into the audience and not account settings. So since Tarvent allows for multiple audiences and each audience can have isolated data fields, then we need to make the inbound webhooks per audience, not at the account level, just because those isolated data fields, and you'll be adding different data per audience. So
Can
to
you
get
zoom in a little bit?
oh
Just
yeah,
just make sure everybody can see it. Derek likes to read things in microscopic level
yeah,
because he wants to get glasses a lot earlier in life than most of us, but he's
hey,
trying hard to
I'm
get there.
almost 30 and I'm still not there, so we're good. I'm good.
Yeah, I'm
But
31 and I have to wear glasses. Well, contacts. I wish I were 31, but
yeah, yeah. So you'll go into your audience and then go into settings. And in settings, you'll scroll down, and then you'll see this card for inbound webhook. So in this inbound webhook, you'll click the button to generate webhook URL. And then in here, you'll have 2 options. So there's 2 different URLs you can use. The first URL will add or update an existing contact. So if you go to add the contact and the contact doesn't exist, then we'll just add it. If the contact does exist, then we'll update it with the new information passed to the webhook. The second URL is to only add the contact. So with this URL, it'll only add new contacts. If you try to add a contact that already exists, then it'll return an error saying that contact already exists. So we gave you these 2 options just so it's easier to control what happens when you pass an existing contact.
yeah. And just
So
so you know, you can use either one. And once you copy this, it's really easy to switch because you'll notice towards the end, there's a 1 or a 2. And all that's doing, that 1 or 2, that's what's telling our system. That's kind of we call it a process type. It just lets us know, do we do an insert only or an insert and update? So when you copy this URL, you're going to only see this URL once. And it kind of gives you a warning about that because there is some security information later on in the URL there. So there's some security information in there that we just don't provide that after that first time. In fact, we don't even know it on the backside. We don't store that raw information. But anyway, so you're gonna copy that. But once you copy it, you could just change that 1 to a 2 or 2 to a 1. Really, just out to you. It doesn't affect anything with the overall URL. It just affects how our system processes each of those requests.
Yeah. Yeah. Just, 1 is for add only, 2 is for add and update.
Yeah.
So just for future reference. So yeah, once you have this URL generated, then you can go into the tool you want to integrate with. So I'll just copy this first one here. And I'm just using contact form 7 just to make things easy. But anyway, so once you're in your tool here, you have to check the box to send to a webhook. Then you specify your webhook URL. Let me not put that in there because security stuff. So you'll put your
anyway. So you guys
yeah.
can copy it because you can pause the video anyway. So don't worry, it'll be gone. But
yeah, it's the joys of being live. But anyways, yeah, well, that's just another nice thing. You can delete your webhook. So if it does get compromised, you can go into the UI, delete it so that your compromised URL doesn't work anymore, which we'll be doing after this video, like Jason said. So yeah.
Yeah, it is a secure one. Don't share this with anybody that has an API key in it that lets you do certain things. We won't go through all the security with it. It is very, very locked down. So you can only do very specific things, but just so you guys know that this URL is very secret and should be kept that way.
Yeah. So then once you put in your webhook URL, you'll go down to in this it might be different in your integration. I'm just going over the one we have, but you'll set your method, which it needs to be post. So we only support the post method. Headers, you don't need anything in there. And then in your body, this is where you set up the data that will be sent over. So in this case, we have it sending over first name, last name, email, and then this was just a required field that we were using for testing. But yeah, so that's kind of how you set it up. And to help set this body up, we have something in the UI that's really useful. So we have this view setup information. So I come in here, then it kind of gives you all the information you need to set it up in your integration. So we have what HTTP method needs to be used, which is that post. We have the allowed request content types. So it's either JSON or form, which is like X URL form encoded is like the technical term for it. And then in here, you can kind of set up your body, just what the request body will look like, just as a sample to make it easier. So what's nice in here too is we add the required fields by default, because if you try to do the webhook and you don't pass in a required field, it's going to fail. So in here, we have the required fields checked by default just to make it easier. But you can add different fields, you can add groups, and you can add tags. And then after adding all the fields and groups and tags that you want, then you can come down here and kind of see what that sample request would look like. So in here, we have all the fields that I selected and then tags and group IDs. So then if you take this body and then come back to my contact form settings, then you can paste it in here and then replace the values with whatever it needs to be for your integration. So in contact form 7's case, you just use these square brackets and then whatever the name of the question is. And then that will replace it with the value that the user specified in the form. But this form is definitely super helpful.
Yeah, and some of the other like Gravity forms, they have a pretty nice management tool for it, so it makes it super easy to add this stuff in. So
yeah, and again, this dialog doesn't do anything. All it does is just build a sample request so you can see what it looks like. But there's nothing in here you need to configure. There's nothing in here you need to save. This is simply just to give you what the request body should look like to make it easier to set up in your tool. And then if you want, we give you a curl command too. So if you're familiar with command line and using curl, then you can put this into the terminal. All you have to do is just swap out this insert webhook URL here with your webhook URL, and then it'll work. So,
which if you want, you can go back and pause the video and copy ours.
Yeah,
but
it'll fail. But
again, we're gonna get rid of it, so no big deal.
Yeah, but just just make sure, I think the most common thing that people will miss with this is just forgetting to pass required fields. So even if you kind of know what the body needs to look like, I'd still suggest coming into the setup information dialog, just so you can see what the required fields are and everything that needs to be passed.
Yeah. In those required fields, the only required field that we have in most cases is the email address. It's whatever the unique identifier is for your audience. So in 99% of the times, or 99.9% of the times, email address is going to be your unique identifier to identify one contact from another. But we do have the capability to add in a custom unique identifier, which could be one or more fields, and that gets into more complicated stuff. But in most cases, the email address is going to be the only required field that we dictate. The only other ones are going to be that required fields that you dictate when you add in data fields. So when you're in the audience, and you can see over on the left-hand side, we've got data fields. So when you add in those data fields, then that's where you'd set it as required. So if you say that it's required because maybe you have dynamic or conditional content that is based on a particular field, so you need to make sure it's there, then that's what you would dictate, and that's why it would be required. So that's kind of how the required works.
Yeah. And then if your webhook URL is compromised or you shared in a public webinar, then you can click this delete button down here. Just type in delete. We like to confirm this because we've had plenty of users that click delete, didn't mean to, and then, yeah, we have to fix that. So we added this just to prevent that. So you hit delete. That'll delete the webhook, delete the API key, so that doesn't work anymore, and then you can go through the same process that we went through before just to generate the webhook URL. And like Jason said, once you see those URLs, if you navigate away from this page and come back, you won't be able to see those URLs again, just for security reasons. But you can regenerate if you need another URL. It's just a forewarning: if you regenerate the URL, your old one won't work anymore. So just know that if you regenerate, then you have to update anywhere that URL is used.
Yep. So hopefully that makes a lot of sense. And we can go over, we've got some questions on this that people have asked already. So kind of go over that stuff, but that's kind of webhooks. So really straightforward, simple to use, and it just lets you do things between your website and us without having to use like Zapier or Make or any of those other guys. I mean, those are great integrators for a lot of different things, but this kind of removes that need, reduces your cost. So you can just do things directly from your website into our system. So yeah. So we've got that. So with that, let's kind of jump into our Q&A, answer some of the questions that we've had from people. So the first question, I'll let you take this, Derek, but can I import a zip file that contains HTML files to create an HTML markup template?
Yeah. So currently our system doesn't allow importing a zip to create a template. We allow importing a zip to upload files, just not to create a template. So this was a question that came up in support, and right now we just don't support that. We may support that in the future if it gets more popularity, more people request it. But for right now, if you want to import an HTML template, the easiest way to do that is just to go into templates, create a new template, and select HTML markup, and then open up your HTML document, copy all the code from there, and then paste it into the code editor in Tarvent. So that's how there's no really import process. It's more just migrating it from your HTML file into a Tarvent template.
Yep. All right. So the next one, I'm going to let you answer this one as well, but I'll ask the question, do you offer dedicated IPs, and what is the cost?
Yeah. So we definitely do offer dedicated IPs. The cost for that is a one-time setup fee of $299, and then an ongoing monthly cost of $49. And so we've gotten a little bit of kickback on this, saying that we're expensive for what our competitors offer. But the difference between what we do and what our competitors do is we're hands-on with our dedicated IPs. So when we give you a dedicated IP, we're going to be setting up the sending speed or the sending rate that your emails are going out, and we're going to be managing that. So if Yahoo throttles your IPs because you're sending too quickly, we'll be on top of that, adjust your sending rate appropriately to make sure you have the best deliverability. And with that, we also handle IP blocks. So there's sometimes that IPs will get blocked erroneously, just Microsoft blocks it for whatever reason, or Yahoo blocks it. So we'll go to Microsoft and Yahoo and request those IPs to be delisted, which isn't something you'll see with our competitors. With most of our competitors, you get a dedicated IP, you're the one that has to manage that. So if there's something that comes up with Microsoft Yahoo, you're the one responsible for contacting them to get that delisted. And it's just, you have to know a lot more with the other competitors, where on our side, we manage it for you, which comes with a little bit more of a cost because we're actively monitoring it and we're actively making sure that you have the best deliverability. So
the only other thing with dedicated IPs is you can have one. Obviously, that you can have all of your email going out on one IP. That's fine. But we strongly suggest if you go down the dedicated IP route, you try it with one. But we suggest having two. And the reason we suggest having two is because we'll set up. This is all dependent on us talking with you. So we could set these up in a bunch of different ways. And again, that goes back to why our cost is a little bit different than our competitors, because if you have two, we can have one as your primary and we can have the other one set up as a backup. So if your primary gets blocked, then we use that secondary IP to have the emails go out on that. That way you're not blocked at all. So that it's good to have a secondary IP just for that particular case. Otherwise, if you only have one and you get blocked, then you're blocked for that IP until that block gets removed, which some case could be hours. Other cases, heck, we've seen there was an issue with the domain that got a block. They had a technical issue on their side, but we were blocked for almost 14 days. That was an extremely rare case. We've only had that happen once in the history of our company. But we did have that, and that was a rather tough one. But most of the time, they're usually the blocks are from hours to 24 hours. But it's always good to have at least two dedicated IPs if you're going to go that route. So, because once you're on that dedicated IP, we don't bounce you between the dedicated and the shared. You stick on the dedicated. That's where you're at, and so that's where it's good to have. So, anyway. Not to kind of just harbor on that particular question, but just want to make sure we give you the most information possible. So the next question: what's the purpose of asking for my industry when creating my account? That question has come up. It's a question we ask. I don't know why people are so bothered by that, but it does come. I guess I shouldn't say that they're so bothered by it, but we've had a couple questions on that one. We ask what industry you're in because we are going to be adding. We have not added the features yet, but it is all in preparation for industry specific features that we're going to be adding in, so we can make things better. And so I can't really elaborate on that right now. But there's nothing behind the scenes. We're not selling your data. We don't do that. We don't make your data or even summarized data. We don't make any of that data available to anybody else. So we're not selling your information. We're not using it for our gain. We're using it for your gain. So it's going to be something that we're going to use that industry information to give you better information in the system compared to another industry, because for your industry, results may look different. So, we're going to be basing some newer features that are going to be coming online based on that industry. So that's why we ask. So
and another concern that came up with that is just because we're asking for the industry, certain users got the impression that we're going to add stuff automatically to their account, whether it be a journey or campaign or something of that sort. But with any of the stuff that we're introducing that's industry based, we're not going to automatically add anything to your account. So it'll be tools to make your life easier based on your industry. But we're not going to be changing any of your data. We're not going to be doing anything behind the scenes that you don't approve of. It's just giving you more tools based on your industry. to just get a head start on certain things.
Yeah, like
So,
you guys, we don't like surprises either, especially when it comes to business. So we're not going to do anything automated without you knowing. So we might have some options of things you can add, but we're going to give you that option to add it or not. So when those features come online, again, nothing behind the scenes. We're not going to just surprise you. We're not keeping track of weird things that we're going to use against you or make money off of. We're strictly doing it for your benefit. So anyway, let's see. So the next question here: how can I use an inbound webhook to add contacts to a group? So back on, oh yeah,
yeah, I
you
guess I
still
could
got
do
that
that.
shared, so we can go look at that really quick on how you do that.
Yeah. So back in this webhook setup information, in here, there's an option to select groups that you want to add the contact to. So I'll just select this one. So what that means in the request body is there's a property called group IDs. So this group ID is a comma delimited string. So a common separated string of IDs. So I'll just add another one so you can see what that looks like. Yeah. So in here, you'll specify this group IDs property, and then you can specify which group IDs you want that contact to be added to. So whatever the value of this property is dictates what groups that the contact will be added to. And if you don't want to go through here to get the group ID, because I've had people ask this too, if you go into groups and you click these three little dots, then you can select view info. And in here, you'll see API ID. So this API ID is the group ID. So you would copy this ID and then put it in for that group ID's value. And then for each one, just comma separated. But
We tried to
that's
make
how
those
you,
IDs as short as possible. I'm
yeah.
kidding. We had for security reasons, we don't want it to be too easy to guess them. But yeah, I guess with that, the only other thing is, so you generate that webhook URL that gives you the URL. Now, some people have asked, okay, they have like 3 different forms on their website. They want to use that webhook URL, but form 1, they want to add that to group 1. And then form 2, add it to group 2. And form 3, add it to group 3. You can use the same webhook. I mean, you obviously have to because you only get one webhook URL per audience. But when you do that, you can set up those group IDs. You just change that value. So in form 1, when it submits, it's going to have group IDs for group 1. And then in form 2, that group IDs is going to have the group ID for form or for group 2. So it's the same webhook. You're just going to be changing the information that you submit per form that you're doing. So that allows you to use the same webhook ID and for different forms, add them to different groups. Or the same thing with tags. So you can add different tags depending on what form you're in. You just modify the tags that get submitted with that form, or you modify the groups that get submitted with that form. So pretty straightforward on there. So, all right. So next question we got on here. Only a few more left. Not too many questions this week. So let's see. Actually, this is the last question here. So why can't I add the last CNAME record to my domain? What do I do? So the last CNAME record, and I guess Derek, you can
Let me
pull that up.
see.
So we can go over that again. We've kind of gone over this before, but I understand this is kind of one of the more technical areas of the system. So it can be
Actually,
a
I
little
can
bit.
I'll just add a separate,
Okay. So
just
yeah, so
to,
this can be a little bit of a struggle to understand. And I'm going to try to explain this in a way that's not super techy because this is DNS. DNS just gets a little bit techy. Anyway, so the last DNS record, so that's that last one that's a CNAME, and that's going to go to mx.share2023.trvt.io. So that record, that CNAME, that is going to be for your overall domain. So if you are doing this on your root domain, like Derek's got this set up as derekjohnson2.dev. So if you're setting it up for that domain, and you already have an MX record that is going to, Gmail or Outlook or whatever, then you can't set up this last domain record or last CNAME record the other thing is you can't do it on a root domain anyway. So if you are on a root domain, meaning there's no subdomain, so for that domain, there is nothing like email.derekjohnson2. So if you're not using a subdomain, you're using that root domain, most DNS systems are not going to allow you to add a CNAME for that root. They'll let you do a redirect, but that's only some DNS servers. And sorry to talk all this technical talk, but the main thing is just the easiest way you can avoid all these problems is just to use a subdomain. So if you want to use derekjohnson2.dev, use e.derekjohnson2.dev or email or updates. Something other than the root domain. So once you set up that subdomain, which is just the text and then a period and then your domain, once you set that up, then adding that last record will be no problem whatsoever.
Yep.
Anything you want to add on that?
No, I'd say you covered it. Yeah, the main confusion that has come from this is just because we didn't used to support that last CNAME record. We added that to enhance email authentication, and so a lot of people added their base domain as their sending domain, and now they see that and can't add it. But yeah, it's because you can't. We don't want all your traffic from your base domain to go to us, nor do you, because you most likely have a website. So you just need to add a subdomain. And that's just a good practice either way. Like even if you weren't to add this last record for email authentication, it's always good to use a subdomain because then it separates your marketing email traffic from your normal day-to-day email. So it's just always a good practice to use a subdomain. We'd always suggest it, and you can get way better chances of having perfect deliverability with a subdomain than with your base domain because you have that extra layer of email authentication.
Yeah, if you need to use the base domain, you can. Just let us know, and we'll show you how to do it. You won't add that record. There's other records that you'll have to add instead. So we can make it work with your root domain, but it's just not going to be as easy. It is technical, and we strongly suggest not doing it unless you know DNS rather well, because there's give and takes with everything. But like Derek said, you want to get that record in there because you're going to get the best deliverability possible by doing that. And ISPs like Yahoo and Microsoft and Gmail, they're getting smarter. And not only are they basing the reputation on the IP address, but they're doing that based on the domain that you're sending from. So that means that for you, especially if you're not using a dedicated IP, it is to your advantage to set all of this stuff up, because once you do, then you're going to be sending out on your own domain. So that reputation is going to be more isolated to just you instead of to everybody sending out on that IP. So it's just to your benefit to do it. So,
and one last note on that, just because this has also come up, if you're going from your base domain to your subdomain, a subdomain, make sure to warm up that new domain, because like Jason said, ISPs look at a combination of the IP and the sending domain. So if you go from sending 0 emails through your new subdomain to sending 5,000 or 10,000 or whatever, that's going to raise a red flag with the ISPs.
Yeah.
So if you go from your base domain to a subdomain, just make sure to warm that up. And by warming that up, it could be as easy as sending out 500 emails day 1, 1,000 emails day 2, 2,000 the next day, 5,000 the next day, and building it that way. And if you need any help with that, just reach out to support. We can give you a general warming schedule if needed, but just make sure to warm that up if you switch to your base domain, or if you switch to a subdomain.
Yep. All right. So with that, that's kind of the end. So hopefully this is helpful to you guys. We've gotten some good feedback so far. We've had a decent number of questions that we're able to provide answers to. So hopefully this will be to your guys' benefit, and you'll enjoy what we've got in there. But with that, let's see. I just want to make sure we have one other question that came up. It's about landing page templates. Or do we have any plans to add landing page templates? The answer is yes. We have plans for a lot of things. Landing page templates, email templates, journey templates. We're going to be adding to all of those. We just have, unfortunately, we don't have unlimited resources. So we pick and choose the things that are going to make the biggest impact to the most customers. And we add those features first, and then we continue on from there. So we are going to be working on that. So thank you for asking that question. And that's definitely something that we are planning to do. It is definitely on our roadmap of things that we need to add. So, so with that, last thing, I just always want to remind about our affiliate program. So if you like using Tarvent, share it with people and sign up for our affiliate program, because then when you share it with those people, you can make money every single month that those accounts that you get signed up every month that they are using our system, you're going to be able to make some money off of that. So you can make enough to pay for your account and then some. So well, hopefully a lot more than just to pay for your account. But anyway, so we have a great affiliate program. So I just want to bring that up. Derek's got that on the screen of what makes up our affiliate program. It's pretty straightforward and easy to do. Just have a link. You share that link and you get credit. So anyway, other than that, we always encourage you to like and subscribe so you stay in the know about what we've got going on. And make sure you follow us on social media so you always know what we have happening. And then let's see what else. So I got another question here. I guess we can answer that one. Let me see really quick here. Oh yeah, same guy with that cold from last week. It's got a cough going on, but yeah, I know you really wants the journey stuff in there. So we are definitely working on that. So we were just talking about that this morning on some of the journey things with AI, being able to write an email. So anyway, that is something that we're working on. So with that, just like, subscribe, follow us on social media. Make sure you submit that form or submit to support, ask whatever question you want. We'll make sure we get those addressed. Otherwise, you can always join us on the web or on YouTube for live chat and we can answer those questions as we go. We're getting a little bit smoother at it, but it's taking us a little bit. And our next webinar is going to be next Tuesday at 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, the 26th. So I'm sorry, 27th. So next Tuesday, the 27th, will be our next webinar. Otherwise, thanks for joining, and we're just going to keep rocking on our side, and please keep giving us the feedback. It's great for us to hear. So
yeah, thank you guys for watching.